Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Infinite Abilities podcast. I am your host, Nick Yerhart. And today I have a guest. His name is Brandon. And this guy is the true definition of your abilities are infinite because he's not letting his different abilities stop him from doing anything. So, Brandon, welcome to the show. I'm happy to have you. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, first off, I want to say thank you for allowing me to be on here. It's an honor to be on. I know we've only just met, not met like in person, but like met online a couple of days ago. And for you to give me the opportunity to be on here is amazing. And just a little bit about myself. I also have a podcast called Cerebral Conversations. I forgot to send you the playlist to the 2 seasons. I apologize about that. I'll definitely get on that soon.
No
And
problem.
and besides doing a podcast, I also work at Planet Fitness. I don't know if you could see the shirt, but I
Yep.
also work at Planet Fitness, and on the side, I work for a financial services company. I can't get too into that because of compliance reasons, but
Yep.
that's pretty much what I do. And as far as my podcast goes, I like to make it more conversation based and like learn people's perspectives and like learn how being my friend or being a part of my life or me being a part of their life has changed their view on cerebral palsy, what they thought about it before and what they think about it now, and we just speak on different perspectives and other ways to better the community.
That's awesome. And me and you both have cerebral palsy, so we have that in common. But we don't live the same life. You've got what you got going on, and I got what I got going on, and it's just like everybody else. Like we're you know at the core, we're no different than anybody else, except we're a lot cooler because we got different abilities.
Yep. Yep, that dis in front of it doesn't that dis in front of the word ability doesn't stop us from doing anything. So
Exactly. I love how you put that. That this in front of it doesn't stop us. I love that. So, what do you like to do for fun?
well, me is what I like to do for fun. I like to work out. I've been going to the gym for almost 7 years now. So that's one of the new hobbies I picked up. But my main two hobbies are playing video games and playing basketball. So those are the three things I like to do the most.
That's awesome. And since you started working out, have you noticed a difference in like you're able to do a lot more
Oh,
despite having?
absolutely. I'm sorry to cut you off, but
You're good.
this gets me really excited. Absolutely, um, absolutely. I notice I'm walking a lot better. I'm able to walk further distances.
Mm-hmm.
I'm able to just overall like my mood is better. I'm more positive. Again, that goes back to mood, and just I can't really describe it. I just feel good after
Yeah,
you know after a good workout. Like the endorphins are kicking, the adrenaline is going through, and it's just been great. So hopefully
exactly.
that's a good enough answer.
Oh yeah, and I've experienced the same thing. About 2 years ago, I started focusing on my health, and then over the last year, a little over a year, I've been working out almost every single day. And yeah, like you say, you feel a lot better, and you can literally do more. Like just like you, I can walk a lot better, a lot further than I could before. So I think that, taking care of your physical health is so important, especially when you have a disability. And, there's a lot of us that, you know, can't really work out, but I believe that there's something that you can always do. You
Mhm.
can move something so that try to get some sort of exercise. I think that's extremely important.
Yeah, yeah, I completely agree with that. Just because you aren't able to do some things physically, like again, like I was telling you before in our pre podcast call, focus on the thing what focus on the things you can do rather than the
Hmm.
things you can't do. Because if you focus on the things you can't do, then you're just gonna sit around not doing anything because you don't want to, feel a certain type of way, whether it be negative or you'll just end up being stagnant. So.
Exactly. I agree with that so much. Like, let's stop focusing on the negative and focus on the positive. What can I do? And then go out there and do it.
Yeah, I know this isn't a part of your questions, but a question I want to ask you is, what are some things about the disabled community, as well, for lack of a better term, what are some things about the community that you've noticed that need to what are some yeah what that need to be improved, and what are some things that you notice that are like good?
So, things that need to be improved, in my opinion, is there's too much negativity around it.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, the people that are usually the most negative about disabilities are the ones that have disabilities themselves. You know, we gotta like, I think people need to stop playing the poor me game. Like, poor me, I'm this boy, I was born like this, I can't do anything. Okay,
Mhm.
stop that and look at, like you said, look at what you can do, not what you can't do. Look, we're all capable of doing so much for ourselves and our lives, but a lot of people that have, disabilities, I really don't like that word, but everybody knows that word. I like to say different abilities, but like we need to just focus on the positive. And then, as far as the good things about the disabled community, is you know there's a lot of help for people with disabilities out there. Do I think it's perfect? No, there's definitely things that need to be improved on. But I also, this is my own opinion, is a lot of people that have different abilities, they are holding themselves back because of it. And instead of helping themselves, they're trying to force other people to help them. And I don't really agree with that. I mean, I agree. We all need help. It's good to ask for help, but
Mhm.
don't abuse it. If you can do something, you should do
Okay. Wow, wow. I've never I've never had somebody like explain it to me that way, and you're like one of the first ones to be been that has cerebral palsy that's explained it that way. So it's like it's really refreshing to know that you
often.
feel that way.
Yeah, I look at things a lot different than most, and you know, I I understand. I'm a pretty capable person. There's people that are wheelchair bound, and but that's okay. That's who you are. So embrace it and do what you can. I have a friend. His name is Joe Carr, and he's on one of my previous episodes. And Joe's just incredible. He's just always positive. And Joe is wheelchair bound. He has a very hard time talking, so most of his communication is through his tablet. And he types what he has to say, and then his tablet speaks it. That's how
Oh,
he communicates. But this guy, and he's super smart, like he's awesome, and he just doesn't let anything get him down. Like you won't find Joe with a smile on his face. He's just always happy, regardless of his circumstances. So it's like if Joe can be happy with all of the challenges he faces in his life, there's a lot more of us that can be happy with what we have.
Yep, and I completely agree with that. It goes back to what I was saying before in our pre podcast call where I was saying you never know who's watching. You're always impacting someone regardless of if you know it or not.
Yep,
So I'd
exactly.
rather be a positive impact on someone's life than a negative impact. So that's what I've been striving to do as of late.
Amen to that. I'm the same way. I want to be a positive, inspiration. And um, I've got a great community around me. From my Grant Cardone 10x coaching. It's a community of hundreds of us, and almost every day they tell me like I'm an inspiration to them. Like whenever they have a challenge or they feel like they can't do something, they think to themselves, "What would Nick do?" And that statement is becoming like part of our community. What would Nick do? Because they all look up to me, and it's just remarkable.
Mm-hmm. That's great. That's great because that's happened to me a couple of times. That's happened to me a couple of times when I was getting ready to get my driver's license. My driving instructor Johnny, shout out to him by the way. Um, he came. I remember we were speaking in the car one day, and he mentioned like there would be days where I didn't feel like coming into work or I'd be having a bad day, but then I would see that you're on the schedule to have a lesson, and when we would do the lesson, I would feel a lot more positive, and because you're never down and you're always excited every time you hit a new milestone, you get excited,
Yep.
and that kind of helped me through whatever I was going through. So
I love that. And you talk about hitting new milestones and being excited. And that's one thing that I talk about a lot is celebrate the wins. No matter how small your win, celebrate it. You know, that's super important because that's gonna boost you up to tackle the next challenge.
absolutely, absolutely.
So,
Yep.
what would you say the biggest struggle that you face with having CP is?
Honestly, for me, it's more of it. It's mo- it's the mental side, but also me feeling like I'm socially behind, if that makes any sense.
Okay.
Like I'm 30, but I don't feel like I've accomplished what a person at 30 should have, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Well, I feel the same way. So, I think that quote unquote normal.
Yeah, because granted, there's people that are older. Granted, there's people that are older and that are younger than us that haven't accomplished the stuff that we accomplished. So I mean, it's not. I mean, to where we to complain, but at the same time, it's kind of like, yeah, I'm 30 now, and it's like my friends are getting married and starting to have kids and all this other stuff, and I'm just sitting here like, I got my driver's license. Meanwhile, they've had their driver's license since they were like 17, 18, and I'm over. I like socially, I feel like I'm starting to hit my early 20s, if that makes any sense. Like all the stuff that
Yep.
people would start to do in like the early 20s, I'm starting to do now. Like,
Hmm.
and it kind of gets discouraging in a sense, but then it goes back to what you said about celebrating the small wins. Just because it might not be a big deal for them, for us, learning how to drive or getting a job, just
Hmm.
getting a job in general, is a big step.
Yep.
So,
Did you find it challenging to get your job?
uh, my first job, yes, it took me. Well, part of it was part of it was because I was going through a depressive episode
Mm-hmm.
because of some other issues, but also part of it was because they say they're not supposed to discriminate against
Mm-hmm.
disabled people, but they're not gonna like openly do it. They'll probably say, "Oh, we found other candidates," or we
Yeah.
I'm assuming you went through the same thing.
Oh yeah. Yep. I have.
The only I ended up getting my first job, which was at FedEx. I was there for about 6 years. The only reason I ended up getting that job was because a friend of my mom's ended up putting a good word in for me.
Mm-hmm.
So, and because of that. But as far as the job at Planet Fitness, I ended up I applied and I ended up getting the job all on my own. And come to find,
Awesome.
and it was then during the interview process, I found out my manager has a brother who has cerebral palsy.
Okay.
So that
Awesome.
was so she completely understood almost everything that I was kind of going through, except his cerebral palsy affected him more mentally. So his is like on the verbal side,
Yep.
but he can do everything else as far as walking stuff. So
Yep. And that kind of gets to the point where it helps when people understand disabilities. Like your manager has a brother with CP, so she understands, what it's like and understands you more than most other people would, and that's extremely helpful.
yep. There's days at work where I'll be running around and doing stuff, and then she'll just come out of nowhere and say, "Sit down. You look like you look like you've been doing too much, and you look like you're tired. Like take a break,
Yep. Yep.
take a break." So that's always helpful. And I've been there for it'll be a year in the next 12 days, a week and a half, 12 days. I've been working
Awesome.
there.
Awesome.
So
I good for you, and I know you love your job, so that's extremely important.
absolutely. I really like being around people and being sociable. So that's
Yep.
that's that's another bonus. Another bonus. Working at FedEx. Well, working at FedEx was not only physically taxing, but it became to be mentally taxing to the point where it was like I needed a change.
Mm-hmm.
I needed to change. It got to the point where it was becoming too much, and there was days where I would take multiple days off of work sometimes just because I physically couldn't handle the stress towards
Mm-hmm.
the end of my time there. So
Yep. Yep. I, I understand that. Um, but yeah, I think it's important for people to understand disabilities and what it's like for us to live with them. And, that's the main reason I started this podcast is to get guests like you on the show to educate people on what it's like.
hmm
So, what is something that you do daily that is a challenge?
that's a good question.
It's hard when you live the life because I know I had somebody ask me and I was like, I don't know, but the more that I thought about it, it's like, okay, if you're comparing me to somebody who doesn't have this disability, well, almost every task I do is a challenge.
Yeah, because it's like asking a blind person what it's like to be blind. It's like I don't
Yeah.
know how to answer that question. I've been blind my entire life.
Yeah.
So it's kind of so when you ask that question, I'm starting to think it's like, what do I struggle like? What I can't really answer that. I can't really answer that question. Obviously, I have challenges, but it's not something that I can just like answer off the top of my head because whenever we find challenges, we find workarounds that work for us. So it's not
Yeah.
really it doesn't really end up being a challenge anymore. So it's kind of
So your answer was actually perfect because I figured that this is where it was going to go, and it's important for people to understand that when we live like this our whole life, we, at times we forget that we have a disability
Mm-hmm.
because our daily lives are, our lives. This is just what we do. We do things differently, and we don't think about it anymore. So yeah, I think that was awesome that you answered that way, just to show people like, yes, we're different. You know, we look different, we do things different, but we, at most of the time, we don't recognize that ourselves. We just live our life however we live.
Yeah. So to piggyback off of that question, my question is, have there ever been times that you have been reminded, like, oh shit, I have cerebral palsy? Sorry for cussing. I don't know if we can cuss on here.
Oh, I sport, so I don't give a shit.
Okay.
But yeah, there are times where it's like, oh crap, this is gonna be a challenge. Um, like, let me try to think of something good. Like, there's times where like I think that I can run. Well, when I run, I fall. So like, I'll just like, in my mind, I've got nothing that can stop me, and then I try to run, and then bam, I'm on the ground. It's like, oh yeah, huh? Can't really do that, But
Yeah,
yeah, like you forget.
yeah, because there's like, because in your mind, when you picture yourself doing a task, you don't picture yourself with a disability. You picture
No,
yourself as normal, quote unquote,
yeah,
like with regular straight legs and everything else. So when you picture yourself doing certain things, like every time I go to play basketball, when I'm picturing myself shooting jump shots and I'm out there shooting jump shots, I look normal. But then I see myself on video and it's like, oh my, wait,
yep,
that's what I look like?
yep.
I look crazy. I look crazy as hell right now. Like, wait, what?
Dude, I feel the same way. Like, like when I walk around, I, in my mind, I'm walking like everybody else. But yeah, see me on camera, I got one hell of a swagger going on when I walk.
Yep.
You know?
Yep. You got the nice little lean. All you need is the pimp cane and you're all good.
Exactly. That's great. And I I like to say, if I ever walk across a dance floor where there's a competition, I just gotta walk across the floor and I'll win that competition every time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. See, they don't understand. Our walk is an entire dance.
Yeah, yep,
We
it
need to
is.
copyright that.
I know we should. uh, this is good. Like this is what this podcast is all about. You know, you're just an incredible person, and me and you just we live our lives. We don't let our different abilities stop us.
Yep. And it's cool to see like cerebral palsy from a different angle because when we live in it, we only see it from our perspective and everything else. So with your podcast and with my podcast and having other guests on that have cerebral palsy or whatever disabilities, you get to see it from a different lens, and it's like, oh, like I've never thought about this that way, or I've
Yeah.
never I've never I've never thought about it this way. Oh, you went through that? I didn't really go through that. What's this like?
Hmm.
What's this like? Okay, you can't really walk that well. Why is that? How many surgeries did you have in order to walk? How
Hmm.
many like what are doctor's appointments are like for you and stuff like that? Because I've talked to because I've talk to people in Facebook groups and other stuff, and they have to put Botox in their legs, and I'm like, what are you Botox? And then they're walking with canes, and then but I've also seen other people to where they're like, I have cerebral palsy and I know how to fly a plane, and I'm just like, what the hell? Like
Yep.
we can do that. I'm over here excited that I can drive a car, but you're flying a whole plane. Like
Yep.
like you're flying a whole plane, and I'm just over here excited that I can drive a car.
Yep. But that's the difference between all of us, you know, and that's okay, you know. And I don't like to compare myself to others, because if you do that, you're gonna end up in a negative mindset. But
Mhm.
if you look at others, like you do, like, oh, you can fly a plane. Well, that's cool. Maybe I should give that a shot sometime,
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, no, 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 no. You tell me to fly a plane, we might die. But that's not. But anyway, but
That's awesome. That's awesome. So I got one question for you before we wrap up. So, what does my slogan, "Your abilities are infinite," mean to you?
hmm, it means that whatever we put our mind to, it. Well, specifically for me, I'm using we in the general sense, but
Mhm.
whatever we put our mind to, we can achieve it. We might have to take a different path than quote unquote normal people to do the things that we want to do, but we can most definitely do it. And it's like the only thing that's stopping us is it's up here. It's up here. And
Exactly.
I just want people to know that there's always a light at the end of the tunnel. Just because it looks dark right now, and obviously you're going to go through dark, there's going to be good times, there's going to be dark times, but there's always a light at the end of the tunnel, and you never know who's what. Again, like I said before, you never know who's watching. You never know who's going to take what you're doing and use it to motivate themselves. So that's what I think it means to me.
Exactly. I love that. Yeah, that's exactly it. So awesome. So awesome. Well, if people want to reach out to you, where where can they find you?
Well, they can find me on Instagram at Skyflow Poppy Santana B. I'll give you the links to all of this stuff, by the way.
Yep.
You can find me on Twitter at Skyflow B, and I'll send you the link to my YouTube as well. My YouTube is Skyflow B, and again, like I said before, I have a podcast that's called Cerebral Conversations, and the person that gave me the title is my best friend's fiance now, Deja Bacon. She ended up giving me the title for the podcast. I was struggling to find a name for the podcast, and
Yep.
she said, "Why not call it Cerebral Conversations?" And it's got double meaning because not only does it mean cerebral palsy, but it's also mental too. So that's because we tend to get because our conversations tend to get really deep and like in on the mental side.
Yep.
So that's the double meaning for it. So you can also check me out there as well. And I'll send you the links for all of that stuff so you can put it in your description if you would like.
Oh yeah, of course. I'll put all your links down in the show notes so everybody can find you. And I would highly recommend you all listen to his podcast. And yeah, all right. Do you have any last words? Words of wisdom?
Words of wisdom. Well, before I get to the words of wisdom, I definitely need to have you on mine because there's questions that I want to ask you specifically
Of course,
and
of course.
want to get your thing on. But as far as words of wisdom, um, as far as words of wisdom, there's two. There's two that I have. And I have them in my phone, if you don't mind me looking through my phone.
Go ahead.
By the way, there's actually two. Um, and these are quotes I ended up saving because I like saw them on the internet or heard them on a show or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them is never beg for a seat. Never beg for a seat when you can build your own table, and I think that's really powerful.
Yes.
Because I think as people with cerebral palsy and disability, we try so hard to fit in
Mm-hmm.
when we try so hard to be normal that we forget that being different is what makes us who we are.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then another one that I have is and then another quote that I really really like that a lot of people should really kind of focus on is what is new the old should never be invited to. So if you ever like in a a mentally taxing situation, or you're not in a good situation and you're striving to make yourself better, don't don't bring the baggage from that situation into the new one, because you'll just end up being in the same spot, whether that be people, whether that be a job, whether that be you might have to move states. That might be a whole situation you might have to move from.
Yeah.
So what is new the old should never be invited to, I think is really powerful. So
I
those are my
agree.
words of wisdom. And
Awesome.
also, and then the third one is, and I constantly say it all the time, if you follow me on Instagram, you're not following me on Instagram yet. So I followed you, but you haven't followed me yet. That's a bad friend. But
Sorry about that. I'll get right on that.
yeah, no problem. But another thing I always say is drink water.
Yes.
Drink water. Stay hydrated, or else your
Yeah.
pee look, or else your pee will look like a Corona bottle, and you don't want that. So.
There you go. I agree. I drink at least 125 ounces of water every day. Super
Same
important.
here.
Hell yeah. All right, man. This was an awesome, awesome conversation. Thank you so much.
You're
And
welcome. You're welcome.
I'm looking forward to being on your show.
I'm definitely looking forward to it too. I know you have show notes and stuff. Mine is more off the cuff, and mine is more freestyle and more off the cuff, because that's how I don't do. I mean, I don't really do well with like notes and stuff, because I feel like I have to stick to the script. So I like to keep it more free flowing and stuff. So
Yep, exactly. All right. Well, everyone, this has been another episode of the Infinite Abilities podcast. I will see you on the next one. And remember, your abilities are infinite.